Welcome to the deep dive.
Great to be here.
Today we're taking a closer look at the healthcare contract development and manufacturing organization market, CDMOs.
Right, a critical piece of the puzzle.
We've got a lot of detailed info here: current size, growth forecasts, key trends shaping things.
Yeah, some really solid data to dig into.
And our mission really is to get past just the numbers and understand what's actually happening, what it means for healthcare.
Exactly. What's the story behind the stats?
So, just to set the stage, the estimated global market size for healthcare CDMOs in 2025 is, well, it's huge. USD 312.82 billion.
Wow. Yeah, that figure alone really tells you how central these organizations have become.
Definitely. Getting products developed and out there. So, let's break that down. Where's the activity concentrated?
Well, geographically, it's quite interesting. North America is currently the largest chunk.
Right, holding over 40% of the global market in 2025. That's about USD 115.74 billion.
Precisely. And it's not just the size now. The growth projection, the CAGR from 2025 to 2033, is pretty strong too, at 8.6%.
Okay, 8.6%. And within North America, the U.S. is the powerhouse, right?
Oh, absolutely. The U.S. makes up, what, USD 91.32 billion of that 2025 total. Dominant.
But the other players in North America are interesting too, you mentioned.
They are. You look at Canada, it's smaller, sure, USD 13.89 billion in 2025, but its growth rate is actually a bit higher, 9.4% CAGR.
Huh, 9.4%. Why do you think that is?
Well, the analysis suggests increasing demand for medical devices up there might be playing a big role. A slightly different focus, perhaps.
Makes sense. And Mexico.
Mexico is also showing steady growth. About USD 10.53 billion market size, growing at 9.1%. Solid expansion there, too.
Okay, let's hop across the pond to Europe. How does it stack up?
Europe's another major player, estimated at USD 90.71 billion for 2025.
90 billion. Okay, and the growth.
Also quite solid, a CAGR of 9.2%, very similar to North America overall, actually.
And within Europe, are there standouts?
Yeah, definitely. The UK looks particularly dynamic. It's about USD 15.24 billion, but with a strong 10% CAGR projected.
10%. Interesting. Higher than the regional average.
Exactly. And Germany is close behind. Size-wise, it's bigger at USD 17.96 billion, but the growth is slightly lower at 9.4%.
Okay, Germany at 9.4%. And France?
France is significant too, around USD 8.34 billion, growing at 8.4%. Still a major part of the European landscape, reflecting those established pharma industries.
It's interesting how those European growth rates vary slightly. Any thoughts on why the UK might be projected a bit faster?
It could be a mix of things, really.
Yeah.
Maybe specific government policies, a particularly hot biotech scene, or perhaps success in attracting international business. Hard to say definitively from just this data.
True. Those nuances are key, though. Now, where things seem to really pick up speed is Asia Pacific.
Oh, absolutely. The growth story there is quite different. The projected CAGR is striking 13%.
13%. That's significantly higher than North America or Europe.
Way higher. The market size for 2025 is pegged at USD 75.07 billion, but it seems set for really rapid expansion.
And looking at the countries within APAC.
The numbers are pretty compelling. China is obviously huge, USD 31.53 billion in 2025, growing at 12.5%.
12.5, still very strong.
But then look at India, smaller market size, USD 7.50 billion, but the projected CAGR is almost 15%. 14.9% to be exact.
Wow, nearly 15%. That's massive growth.
It really is. Japan is also strong, more mature market maybe, but still 11.5% growth on a USD 10.36 billion base.
Okay, so China, India, Japan, who else?
We're seeing really healthy growth pretty much across the board. Australia at 12.3%, Singapore at 13.3%.
Singapore's interesting smaller base, USD 1.5 billion, but that high growth suggests maybe a specialized niche?
Could be. Highly specialized, maybe attracting specific types of advanced manufacturing. Then you have South Korea at 12.1%, Taiwan 12.8%, and Southeast Asia collectively around the 13.8%.
So just rapid growth all around in APAC. It's not just one or two countries.
Exactly. It likely reflects different things: growing domestic demand, more investment in pharma infrastructure, maybe leveraging CDMOs to scale faster than they could alone.
Plus attracting international companies looking to tap into that growth.
For sure. That's got to be part of it.
Okay, let's quickly touch on the other regions. South America?
South America's smaller overall, looking at USD 11.88 billion in 2025.
But the growth is still decent.
Yeah, pretty healthy, actually. 10.9% CAGR overall. Brazil's the biggest market there, about 5 billion, growing at 11.5%.
And Argentina?
Argentina's interesting, too. Smaller, just under 2 billion, but slightly faster growth at 11.8%. The report mentions R&D spend and medical device demand there.
Got it. Colombia is also showing decent growth, over 10%.
Right, 10.7%.
And the Middle East and Africa, similar stories.
Similar in terms of strong growth, yeah.
Yeah.
The Middle East is projected around USD 12.5 billion for 2025, growing at 11.5%. Saudi Arabia and the UAE are the key players.
Okay, 11.5% for the Middle East and Africa.
Africa starts from a smaller base, just under USD 7 billion in 2025, but still growing at a good clip, 10.5% growth. South Africa leads the pack there with 11.4% growth.
So when you pull back and look at all these regions,
Well, what really stands out is that while North America has the lion's share now, these much higher growth rates elsewhere, especially in APAC, but also MEA and South America, suggest the global balance could shift quite a bit over the next, say, decade.
a shifting landscape. Okay, so we've got the geography. What about the big trends? What's actually driving all this growth globally?
The analysis points to a couple of really key things. First off, technology,
Tech advancements. In what areas specifically?
particularly in things like bioprocessing and cell therapy manufacturing. These advances are making complex manufacturing much more efficient, more scalable.
Right, which is crucial for the newer, more complex therapies.
Exactly. It improves quality, consistency, and ultimately makes things like cell therapies more commercially realistic. Think about continuous manufacturing and bioprocessing. That's a big leap forward.
Yeah, reducing variability, boosting yields. So CDMOs with that tech become really valuable.
Highly sought after, especially for biologics.
Makes total sense. As the science gets more complex, you need specialists. What's the other big trend?
The other major catalyst is the rise of personalized medicine and gene therapies.
Ah, okay. How does that feed into CDMO growth?
Well, these kinds of treatments demand highly specialized manufacturing. Very specific, often individualized processes, like CAR-RT therapies, for example.
Right, incredibly complex, patient-specific stuff sometimes.
Precisely. And many biotech companies just don't have the in-house capability or capacity for that. So they turn to CDMOs who've invested in those dedicated facilities and, just as importantly, the expertise.
So as personalized medicine grows, the demand for these specialized CDMOs just keeps climbing.
That seems to be the clear trend. It's a huge growth driver.
So more complex treatments needing more advanced tech and specialization, and CDMOs are stepping up.
Got it. How does the market break down by type of product?
Well, the data suggests that small molecules are still likely the dominant segment, market share-wise.
Okay, the more traditional drugs, why is that? It's largely down to, more established production methods. They're generally simpler and cheaper to scale up manufacturing for. Plus, they're used across so many different therapy areas.
Right. Long history, established infrastructure. Makes sense. But is that where the fastest growth is?
No, not the fastest growth. That's definitely happening in the large molecule segment.
So biologics and biosimilars.
Exactly. That area is expanding much more rapidly. It's fueled by that move towards targeted therapies, personalized medicine we just talked about.
And enabled by the bioprocessing advances.
Yes, precisely. Those tech improvements are making it more feasible to produce these large molecules at scale.
Okay, so small molecules are the bedrock, but large molecules are driving the future growth. What about medical devices? Are they part of this CDMO picture too?
They are, and that segment is also seeing significant expansion within the CDMO world.
What's driving that?
It's kind of a perfect storm of factors. Aging populations globally, more chronic diseases needing management, and just continuous innovation in med tech itself.
So more demand for advanced devices, creating more need for specialized manufacturing partners.
You got it. More opportunities for CDMOs with that specific device expertise.
It really is a multifaceted market then. So who are the big players competing in this space?
It's definitely a competitive landscape. You've got a mix of large global companies and also more specialized regional players.
Any names that stand out in the reports?
Yeah, the analysis highlights several key ones. Companies like Catalent, Lonza, Recipharm, Siegfried Holding, Thermo Fisher Scientific, LabCorp Drug Development. These are some of the major names.
And what makes them leaders? Scale, technology.
Usually a combination. Extensive service offerings, global reach, and a big focus on R&D and staying ahead of the tech curve.
And we're seeing activity from them recently, investments, expansions.
Yes, definitely. The reports give a few examples, like LGM Pharma expanded its suppository manufacturing capability back in March 2024.
Okay, broadening their services.
Right. And WuJi Vaccines launched a new vaccine CDMO facility in China in September 2023, a clear sign of investment in vaccine capacity.
Vaccines have obviously been a huge focus.
For sure. And PCI Pharma Services invested to expand its sterile injectables facility in Illinois in March 2023, another critical area.
So lots of movement, lots of investment to keep up with demand.
Absolutely. It underscores how dynamic the market is. Companies aren't standing still.
But it can't all be smooth sailing, right? With all this growth, are there any sort of headwinds, things that could slow it down?
There are definitely potential restraints mentioned. One big one is the regulatory environment.
The usual suspect in healthcare. How does it impact CDMOs?
Well, stringent regulations and just the time it takes to get approvals can cause delays. Delays in clinical trials, delays in getting products to market that can slow down the whole pipeline and, consequently, the demand for CDMO services.
Right, regulatory hurdles are always a big factor. Anything else?
Funding can be an issue, too, specifically limited funds for R&D at the pharma and biotech companies.
If they have less money for development.
Then they might initiate fewer projects, which could eventually trickle down to less demand for manufacturing support from CDMOs.
Makes sense. Financial constraints.
And one other point mentioned is sometimes public skepticism about medical research, or maybe just not enough media coverage, can make it harder to recruit patients for clinical trials.
Impacting the pace of development from a different angle.
Exactly. So you've got regulatory complexity, potential R&D funding limits, and even public perception factors that could act as, brakes on growth.
Okay, so challenges to navigate alongside the opportunities. Right. Let's try and pull this all together then.
Sounds good.
We've seen the healthcare CDMO market is, well, massive and growing significantly. North America leads in size currently.
But Asia-Pacific and other regions are growing much faster, potentially shifting the balance.
We've seen technology, especially in bioprocessing and cell therapy, as a huge driver alongside the whole trend towards personalized medicine.
Right, demanding more specialization.
Market segmentation shows small molecules are still foundational, but the real dynamic growth is in large molecules and also medical devices.
And it's a competitive field with big global players constantly investing and expanding, like those examples we saw.
But facing potential headwinds from regulations, R&D funding, and trial recruitment.
That pretty much sums it up. It's a vibrant, complex, evolving sector, deeply tied to scientific innovation and manufacturing tech, with some really interesting regional dynamics playing out.
So here's a final thought for you listening in. As therapies get even more complex and that need for specialized manufacturing just keeps growing, could CDMOs evolve even further, moving beyond just manufacturing to become maybe truly strategic partners, deeply embedded in the whole innovation and drug development process?
That's a really interesting question. How deep will that integration go?
Something to think about. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.